Alright guys, so I started loosening up the motor mount bolt. It is a 5/8. So one thing that I forgot to mention is you will need to get on the opposite side of the motor mount, because it does have a nut right here that if you start spinning it, it'll keep on spinning with you. So have another tool ready, or a wrench. I wasn't able to find a wrench that fit in there, but fortunately the frame was rusted out enough where I could just jam the ratchet in here and start loosening it up. So look at it. It's the frame rail. So the main structure of the car. So I'm gonna loosen up the other one right now. And my game plan is to loosen these guys up, which are a 3/4 size. So it'll be one here, one over here, or maybe in the back actually. Yeah, so all 4 corners. And I'll hook up the engine leveler to it. And I got the engine hoist ready. It's on standby right now. And yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and loosen this one. And then we will be able to start, I'll show you guys when I start loosening up the head bolts to actually put the engine leveler on it and then start yanking it up. Alright guys, see you in a bit. Alright guys, so opposite side, right? 1/2 inch ratchet with a 5/8 inch socket. On the side I'm going to use the most amount of torque, and I do have this big cheater bar or the jack handle, whichever is convenient for you. Just make sure you have you know, some gloves on, because you don't want to get hurt if something gives way like the ratchet. So here's the other one that I have it set up. I don't know if you guys can make it out, but you can see it right there. That's the ratchet that is going to swing towards the left, towards the exhaust manifold, and it'll actually stop the nut from spinning all the way, and that way I'll be able to loosen it up at that point. So I'm going to see if I can place the camera over here and see if you guys can kind of see some of the action that goes on. So hopefully no swear words get said. Alright, so good news, bad news, right? So the good news is the bolt broke free. So you don't want to move the pins out or the bolts out, because then the engine will kind of have some more wiggle room, and you want to keep it as stable as possible at this point. So I'm going to loosen up the head bolts like I was talking about, and then get the engine leveler on it. So I will start shooting the video when I get that going. Alright guys, see you in a bit. Alright guys, so the engine leveler is on the engine itself. I'm gonna get the 1/2 inch again with a 3/4 socket and take these head bolts off. So seeing that the engine was exposed, they may be rusted on there. Not really certain yet, but probably be a good piece of advice to have a torque bar ready. Oh, actually that was pretty smooth. So that's good. Well, in my book, that's good. I thought I was gonna luck out and have a little bit cooler day today, because yesterday it was really hot and work was pretty intense, but I guess I lucked out and got a 95-degree day, so I didn't escape it, guys. But oh well, right? You're gonna have to work on it one way or another. Okay, that was no big deal. And then the last one back here, and you can kind of see how the motor is already leaning, and that's because the okay, I don't need my wheels for that one, and that's because that transmission cross member isn't on there. So if the cross member was still on there, you would have the motor a lot leveled. So this is what the head bolts look like, guys. There you go. All right, so I'm just gonna pull that out, pull out all the ones that I loosened up, And ideally what's going to happen is one part of the chain is going to go to this side, and then the other one to this side, and that one to that side, and so on and so on. And the hoist will hook onto here. So I'm going to go ahead and start bolting them on and taking out the other bolts, but pretty much like this, guys. I'm not planning on using this motor, but that's the idea, the general idea. But all right, so that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to just finish taking off the rest of the head bolts, and then we'll get the hoist on it. See you in a bit, guys. I don't want to bore you guys too much. All right, guys. So just finished setting up the engine hoist. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of breath, but it is hot. So the engine hoist is set up. I already have the head bolts secure onto the engine leveler. I did make some changes as to the head bolts that I originally had wanted to take out, seeing that the chain was not that long. So I'm going to show you guys that. All right. So here's what happened. So on the driver's side of the engine block, this chain right here was just too short. So I just moved it over one head bolt, and the same thing on the rear. So now the other challenge that I have now is obviously the Mustang doesn't have suspension on it. So we have it right now on dollies with concrete blocks holding it up. And like I showed you guys before, the frame is extremely rusted out, and you could actually see it kind of bow in the middle. So that's not good, and I really don't want to keep on jacking it up and down because I don't know, I just don't want it to fall apart. But either way, it is going to get changed out. But here's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take the engine out from the side, have the engine hoist pretty much where I want it at, and then I'm just going to hook up this little guy right here to this guy right here, and that's where I will leave you guys. The next time you will see it is when I am actually putting the jack or the engine hoist onto engine leveler, because it takes a while to pump this guy, and I don't want to bore you guys with, what is that, less than 1/4 of an inch of movement. So all right, guys, I will let you go for now, and I'm gonna finish jacking this engine hoist boom up, and the next time you will see it, I will have it onto the engine itself. See you in a bit. Okay, so now she is all jacked up, and already connected it to the engine leveler. And just to let you guys know, some of you may not have experience with the engine hoist, and just wanted to let you know where I have it. I have it on 1/2 ton. 1/2 ton. A ton is technically 2,000 pounds, so a 1/2 ton is 1,000 pounds. So this motor, probably with everything intact, intake and all that stuff, with the trans hooked up to it, is probably about 700-800 pounds is my guess. I know that the bigger motors are a little bit heavier. I could be off a little bit, but hopefully not by much. The last time that I weighed a motor, it was just a block itself, and that was a good 250 pounds for a 289. So this one is a 302, just to let you guys know. So what I'm going to do, it's kind of hard to video and jack at the same time, guys. So I'm going to start jacking it up, and being that it's just myself solo today, I will start getting the motor out. And as you can see, it's already starting to lift out of there. Now, before I go too far up, I need to make sure that I have enough wiggle room in these bolts right here. All right, so you see, that's how this one is, and you could tell that the end broke off. So now that side is free, and I just want to make sure. So here you go. All right, so now here you go. Here's the other one. Okay, so these are your motor mount bolts, and those go to your frame brackets. And now the motor is gonna technically start lifting, and you could kind of see the car start raising. So what I'm going to do is place some jack stands on the back of the rocker panels back here, because the car will start tilting down, because most of the weight was technically on the front, because obviously the car is missing the back half of it. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to set up the jack stands back there, and that way I can start getting this motor out. All right. I will leave you guys at that, and I will start shooting once I get those jack stands situated and the motor a little bit out, because I think you guys get the idea, right? So number one thing, be careful. You never want to put your hands anywhere down here, or once the motor is up, you never want to put yourselves in any harm's way. Remember, this bulk of steel is a lot stronger than you are, and skin, bones, right? That's very easy to get damaged. So just be careful. Number one rule. All right, guys. See you in a bit. Oh, brother. So, all right. So this is pretty interesting. I've never encountered one of these before in my life, but it's always pretty cool to see something new. So I was lifting the motor up, and here's what. So the passenger side motor mount, I don't know if you could see it, but right here is where this should lift up, and the rubber just broke off. So the rest of the motor mount that bolts onto the motor broke off. And this one, I don't know if you guys could see it, but maybe by the oil pan. Okay, so you see this is the frame bracket and this is the motor mount. So this one lifted together, and you could kind of see it's kind of worn out, but that's the way they should come out technically. But all right, just thought it was interesting. So I will continue lifting the engine out, and every now and then, depending on how the motor is situating, guys, because sometimes it's a little bit more more of the weight is in the back or whatever, you may have to turn the handle to level the motor out, or to angle it in order so you don't hit the firewall or any suspension pieces if they do get in the way. Sometimes you may have to take apart a cross member, but on Mustangs, pretty much pretty basic at that point. So all right, I'm gonna keep on going, guys. See you in a bit. Yeah. Okay. So far, so good. Then I'm gonna walk the hoist forward a little bit. All right. Okay. So, because of the stand that was in the way, guys, now it's moving around. So, ideally, you don't want to make these changes, but the car's a project, right? So. Alright, guys, so I'm going to stop shooting. I'm going to take this motor out. Next time you see it, it will be out of the car. Alright, she is almost out. So one thing I forgot to do, which kind of one of those things that, when you're excited to get stuff done, you forget the obvious, right? So we had a strap holding up the tail shaft of the transmission when we were transporting it, and I forgot to disconnect it, guys. So it was held up right here, and I was trying to figure out why this motor wasn't coming out. But ultimately, I figured it out after a couple of minutes. But just one of those things that you overlook because of the anxiousness. So the motor is pretty much ready to come out, guys. As you can see, the oil pan has already cleared the radiator support as straight as it is. Just kidding. So the next thing, I'm going to move the engine hoist back just a little bit, and now you could see that the transmission needs to get leveled, either with the engine leveler or keep on lifting it up with the hoist. So I'm going to keep on pumping up the hoist, and hopefully that should do it. Like I said, it's usually a good practice to have somebody help you out, because you may need to lift the tail shaft, and sometimes that might drag onto your radiator support, but it's not impossible to knock it out as one person or individually. But just be very careful, guys. You never know. Expect unexpected, and make sure that you're prepared and versed, and you see the way the motor is acting, because you may hear little noises that indicate something is either going to fail or something may happen. But just be careful, number one. All right, guys, I'm going to finish taking it out. I'll next part of the video, I'll have it on the floor, and then we'll go over some of the numbers and what is what, such as the transmission, what type of transmission, what type of motor, and so on and so on. All right, Alright guys, I will see you in a bit, and let's get her out of there. Let's get some progress on it, right? Alright guys, so motor is just about out. Took some finagling. I did forget about the strap that we had on the tail shaft holding it for transportation, but after I realized that for 5 minutes, I finally took it off, and of course the motor was a lot more freer than what it is. So just an update guys on the 69 Fastback. Pretty much have the engine just about out. As you can see, it is dangling over the radiator support. So it's just myself solo today, so I will try to be as careful as I can be, because you always want to be careful guys. Alright guys, so finally got the motor out of the 69 Mustang Fastback. We'll take a closer look at the beautiful engine compartment in a little bit, but right now let's just go over the engine and the transmission. Alright guys, so this is a 302, and some of the identifiers are going to be your heads, right where it has 302 imprinted in them. And then you can also look up the part numbers. Most of these part numbers are going to be C9, C8, somewhere in that. Seeing that it is a 69 Mustang, you will probably have C8 part numbers on there. So here you could see on the manifold a C5 part number. And the thing with it guys is, you know, you got to make sure that you check out your engine numbers, right, to make sure you're getting what you wanted. I mean, I really like the 69 Fastback, so I could really care less about this 302. Not really something that I like, but you know, I would like to put a bigger motor on there. So as you could see, here is the VIN number stamping on there. It'll be the last 6 digits, which are called your consecutive numbers. And so here's your starter, your transmission cooler line. And this is a C4 transmission, a lot better than the FMX, which came out in 69 as well. A little bit more heavier duty was the FMX for more of a truck application, but they also put them on Mustangs. And here is the timing chain cover, your water pump, harmonic balancer. This was where the alternator would be sitting. It's not sitting there anymore, but it was at one point. And yeah, so this motor I'm not going to use guys. It's more just what came with the car. It is nice. It is a numbers matching block, which is pretty cool. And you could tell it had 2 rockers that were busted. So kind of curious to see what the inside of the motor looks like. You know, maybe a piston slammed up, or you know, a valve got thrown in. Seeing that it's just the I don't know if it was cut or what, but it looks like a pretty clean cut. Alright guys, so got it done. I'm gonna start working on the fenders, get the fenders taken apart, get the AC condenser out, this guy right here, and remove the horns and the hood latch. So that's my the rest of my work that I have cut out for today. Hopefully tomorrow I will start bracing up the rocker panels and cut out the floor. So more on that later on guys, but thank you for watching, and I will get back to you once I take apart the rest of the front end. Alright guys, so finally got through taking off the front fenders and the lower front valance. Just to give you an idea, it did take longer than what I expected, to tell you the truth. A lot of the bolts were rusted, and yeah, had to figure out a way to get them out. What I had to kind of do on one of them was kind of cut the sheet metal. Not a big deal because we are able to weld and make it together again. But I'm going to show you what the front looks like on the car right now. So here we go. Alright, so here is the front fender. And they don't look too bad. The lower parts look pretty, I mean, they have rust on them, don't get me wrong, but pretty manageable for the most part. And then here is where the lower valance was crumpled onto the fender. That's why I couldn't take it out. And you could see same thing on the driver's side. So the driver's side fender doesn't look too bad either. Not bad at all actually. And you know, we will find out once we take out the paint on them. But here's what the front structure looks like. So it's not a surprise that the frame is bad. So I'm not shocked by it, guys. And obviously the name of the channel is Save That Rust Bucket. So here we go. So here is the firewall. See this hole? This is where it meets the torque box, and this is where your torque box has a little V that goes underneath the torque box onto the front frame rail. So notice how the frame rail has a hole in it, and notice how it has more holes on it, right? So front frame rails are definitely shot. Radiator support is bent, so more than likely it's going to need a new one. This is the cross member that is also rusted out. And this is the passenger side, right? Frame rail shot, and here goes the back of the frame rail, right? And then again your firewall and your support bracket that goes there. These are your rear fender apron. Ford calls them fender aprons, and here's the front fender apron on the passenger side. As we look into the bay, you can notice the holes on the frame rail. That is your shock tower. This guy right here holds the shock and your coil spring, which your control arms bolt onto here, and your lower one right here. And then of course this bracket has your engine that mounts onto it. So that handles a lot of the structure of the car. So if that is shot, we have to rethink it. So definitely gonna need shock towers. That's your steering box like we spoke about, and your frame rail. And then on the bottom of your frame rail, I don't know if you could see it, but you see that little black rubber, and then on the bottom where my finger is at, there should be a nice thick piece of steel that cradles the lower frame rail to the floor, which is called your floor support bracket, or floor support bracket, I believe, if I remember correctly, or subframe connector, one of those two. So that's what is missing there. Obviously it's rotted out. Your steering column goes through there, brake booster hole, fuse box, joint or plug, throttle cable, neutral safety switch, engine harnesses, right? And then your brake line. This car was an AC car, so that's the heater box, where the heater box would go. So that's what the engine compartment looks like, guys. And you know, the battery apron right here. So I will definitely keep you guys posted. Tomorrow it is the 4th of July, so we probably are not going to do anything on the cars. You know, we need to definitely sit back and celebrate the 4th of July. So there you go, guys. Thank you. It is extremely hot, a lot hotter than what I thought, but was able to accomplish what I wanted. So taking apart the front, which the front fenders, taking out the motor, the valance, and doing a thorough check on the frame. So thank you guys. Until tomorrow, see you later. Take it easy.